Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I want to share with you some of the things that I liked and some of other things that I did not like as much from my last trip to Egypt. And so it's about over a month since I visited Egypt, and my mind is a bit like, bro, like my memory is fading a bit, but there are things that still comes to my mind every now and I think maybe they'll be useful for other people as well. So we're recording this video for that purpose. I think I'll start with the stuff that I liked about like the whole experiences and stuff like that. And then I can go to the stuff that I did not like as much because sadly for this trip, like I feel like there's a lot more things that irritated me than the things that I loved for real. And I've seen like a lot of people say the same thing about Egypt. Like it's such a chaotic destination overall. So like you really need to have like an extra bandwidth for like irritation because boy, you're gonna be tasted. Let's get into the video. So the first thing that I loved so much about Egypt, I think, is the food. So we visited like 3 places, and in all the places we've been to, like the food was great. We stayed in Cairo for a few nights. The food was amazing. Also, we stayed in Luxor, and the food was also great. But I think on food, one thing that I realized is that the place that you go to eat really matters. I think this applies everywhere across the world, but I felt like before visiting Egypt, I thought maybe the food would be great everywhere. But after visiting, I think it's just the same rule as everywhere else. Like, it just, the place really kills more weight because I remember the first time where we were looking for a restaurant, we asked someone else just recommend like a restaurant for us, and we asked a local, he was like our taxi driver. And he took us, I think, to his like best friend's restaurants or whatever. The food was shitty. Like, we couldn't even eat properly. We had to go get McDonald's or something because we couldn't like enjoy that meal. And then we decided to like make our own like searches for hotels, and I think I'll give myself a 10 of 10 out of that because boy, well, we started looking for our own restaurants, and then we chose like the best restaurants and stuff like that, and the food was like amazing. And I think some of the restaurants that I loved in Cairo, I love this restaurant. It's called Zaira. It's in the downtown Cairo in the Zamalek area. It's in the rooftop of a hotel. It's so nice. The food is so good. I can't explain much. And then there's this other place. It's called Kebabji. I hope I'm pronouncing right. I think I'll write the name somewhere in the screen. It's called Kebabji. It's also very nice. It's also in Cairo, downtown. And then in Luxor, one of my favorite restaurants was Thebes. Like Thebes was the best because this one time I was like staying in the east side of the bank. I had to like take a ferry to the west side of the bank just to eat at Thebes and come back to the east side to sleep. Like Thebes had the best vibes, the best ambience, the best food. It was like a 10 out of 10 minus nothing, you know. That was it for the food. So the food was great, but the place you choose to eat really matters. And something else, number 2, that I loved about Egypt, I think, is the history. And this is the part that almost everyone travels to Egypt for, is the history. And the history really is fascinating. Like, it's just nice to like immerse yourself in that area, in like what wars, to like learn about it and stuff like that. It's just nice. So the history was fascinating, and I love that about the history. Actually, I love that about the history so much that now I'm reading this book. So I got this book when I was in Egypt, and I think it's quite funny. Also, it sort of like gives me a bit more details, like some of the stuffs that I had while I was there, and like I was not very familiar because I think my history class did not do much. But yeah, so the history also was fascinating. And I think for what I remember, those are only the 2 things that I really loved about Egypt. Now we're moving to the other side of the video. The first thing that I really don't like is the rip-off culture. I feel like this has to be said more often. I feel like I heard that people would ask for tips like everywhere you go and stuff like that. But it's more annoying than that. Like, it goes beyond that. Like, it's basically just rip-off culture because even the fact that they just, I don't know, like, it's so exhausting even to bargain for everything you do during the day because, you know, everyone is trying to rip you off. Like, they're literally trying to milk every coin they can get out of you. So you should have that in mind whenever you're doing any purchase and interaction. Just know that the rip-off culture is very big, and they're gonna try to get every coin out of you. So that one I did not like it much because I feel like when you're on vacation, you don't want to be like on flight or fight. But I feel like that rip-off culture calls for that because it's either you are that or they rip you off. So you chose. Something else that I don't like as much, which is number two, it's the catcalling. I think the catcalling is extreme. And it's not just catcalling, like I've seen different levels of catcalling, and that is extreme. But also, I think what makes it even more annoying, like they're shamelessly catcalling because they'll turn their heads 180 to catcall you with no shame. And I'm like, where are your manners? Like, where are your manners? It's just crazy. And I think for me specifically, maybe it's just because I'm a black girl. Like they would call me some of the most funniest names I've ever like heard in my life. And I'm like your exposure level really worries me at this point because I'm like, what? Anyway, like the catcalling was so annoying. And I think like sometimes I was working with, like the friend of mine, and then he would get annoyed on my behalf. Like it was that bad because I think at some point I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna exhaust myself over this. I'll just like make fun of it as it goes. And then I was trying to do that just to, to stop myself from feeling the irritation, but like it was just so much that even the person that was next to me was getting irritated. And this was done while I was with someone. Like I was almost always working with like a guy with me, and they're still doing this. I'm like imagining if it was just me on the street, I imagine how extreme things would have been. Because I'm like, why? The third thing that I really did not like about Egypt is corruption. Like, I'm like, and I think this adds on to the rip of culture because, like, coming from an African country, I'm familiar with corruption, but I feel like the Egypt's level of this thing is like, I these guys should like teach everyone else about it because they're like, I feel like they're just doing it, they're overdoing it, they're doing it too much. It's like borderline annoying. And like corruption in general is annoying, but like the way they have normalized it so much, they sort of like feel a third degree embarrassment for them. For instance, like I remember this one time we were at the airport, we were queuing to go like get through security check, and this person who works at the airport comes to us and then is telling us to give him like, give me 100 Egyptian pounds and then I'll take you through security. And I'm like, I'm not even late first. Also, like, why? And like he was so shameless, like he's not even like trying to like tell it to you, like he's so loud. Like he's talking to you, actually he was talking to the guy who was in front of me. He's talking to him in a way that at least three more people can hear, like whoever is up for the chance come like this business to be done. And I'm like, it's just not giving. I feel like corruption is bad, but also it's so bad when you feel like they have memorized it so much. Like for them it's like daily practice, because he was not even like worried that there are like security guards nearby. He was not worried that there's like airport police that could like call him out and stuff like that. That tells me that that thing is like business as usual for them, which is the part that really annoyed me, because you sort of like no, you can't even report such stuff to police or like anyone because it's like business as usual for them kind of situation. Probably even the police would ask you for corruption for reporting that case. It's just that much fucked up. So that was annoying. The first thing that I don't like about Egypt is that the accommodation is not the best. And I know accommodation, like in most places, you get what you pay for. But I feel like for Egypt, there's no like value of money when it comes to accommodation, because like, yeah, I remember like one of the places that we stayed, which was like $400 per night. But the place, after we arrived, it looked like a two-hotel star. But online, it looked like at least a four-ish, because they did take photos of like specific nice places in their hotel. But after you visit there physically, you realize they're just like few nice places that they took the photos, and then the rest of the hotel is just shitty. Even our rooms were not like the best. They did not even like replace our waters, and it was just hell. And the breakfast was like sketchy. It was not so good. It was the worst. Like, like at some point we even had to like, because we were supposed to stay there for like 3 4 nights. On day two, we're like, nah, this is not it. And then we had to like ask them to like shorten our stay because we had prepaid in full. It's just that there's no value for money. So I think you should have that in mind when you're doing like booking for your accommodations. Also, like make sure to check every possible situation before you book your accommodation, because there's high possibility that that place is going to be sketchy. Another thing, which is number 5, one thing that I don't like about Egypt is the fact that like the delaying of flights. Like I feel like I also get delayed flights in my country, and I think like every country gets delayed flights every now and then. But I feel like for Egypt it's normalized because hear me out. We took like 3 flights, local flights in general, and all of them were delayed at least 2 hours for each. Like there's neither of them like at one time. And then at some point, someone that I know was having a conversation with someone who is a local there. And she was like, ah, this is normal. They do that every time, at least 2 hours. So it feels like it's very much normalized. And that I was like, okay, annoying. But also, I remember the first time we're flying from like Cairo to Roxol, and then we arrived at the airport, and they're like, "Oh my God, I hope you're not late." We're not even like late, but we're like 2 hours. I mean, like we did not keep in enough time, considering the fact that we did not know the airport well. We measured for like standard airport arrival time like 2 hours before the flight, and we're like, "Oh, we hope 2 hours will be enough." Blah 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 blah. We're like stressing about it, only for us to go through security and to realize that the people who were supposed to leave an hour before we arrived have not left yet, which means they'll leave before us, which that was like the next hour. I mean, 2 hours later before their actual departure time. And then that means our flight also is delayed for like 2 more hours. And they're like, wow, it's 3 hours for nothing. Anyway, so it feels like flights will always be delayed. Also, something else, the local airports are so messy. You need an extra layer to like manage everything through, because I feel like if you're used to like for things to like work systematic and stuff like that, you feel a bit more irritated with like the way things operate for them. And I feel like maybe it works for them, maybe not, but be prepared for that. The airports are very messy, especially the local airports. Very messy. So that sums it all up. Those are some of the things that I didn't like as much, and some of the things that I did love about Egypt. And I hope this gives you some insight to plan your upcoming trip and have so much fun in Egypt, because overall it's a good experience. It's nice. It has its downsides, but it's worth having. So until next time, adios.